Alrighty, so earlier I posted a screenshot of the containment building for my rig, and people seem to like it, so I figured I'd do a quick tour of the facility now that I've kind of gotten it to a point that I'm pretty satisfied with. We're going to start by entering through here into the sorting area. We're going to kind of work our way backwards. We have our 3 crucibles here, gold, shards, and iron, with a pan here at the end for the collection of gems. I put shards in between the iron and the gold because those two seem to have the most spillage, and when I'm using the magnet to pick it up and drop it into the crucible, I'd rather have a little bit of distance between the gold and the iron just so that they're not pulling on each other and crashing the frame rate. So we're going to come over here to our 2 sorters. We have this assembly belt right here at the entrance to the sorters. I've put this metal sheet here so that any large bits of dirt that might go flying from the rig or make it off of the harvesters, they don't wind up inside the machines. They usually get caught right here, and I'm able to drop them into the harvesters back here. And that's kind of helped with the flow before, because I don't know about you, but I've certainly had to shut down my machine, remove one of these sorters, and pull a giant rock out of there that's been jamming up the works. So we're going to come up these stairs, or fall off these stairs and get pulled into the sorter. We keep an eye on these. We have our 2 harvesters here, and here we are now at the main mining floor with 6 ram drills all linked together. So I can kind of survey from up here. In between our grinders, not only to try to hopefully keep large bits from collecting, but also to sort them into the middle so that they're all pretty much falling in a center line by the time they reach the harvester. Coming down here, just jump over this real quick. We have our auxiliary ore. Now this is actually just kind of accessible from underneath the machine, so I can crawl down there, gather up ore, and then drop it right here. Also, one of the nice things about having a containment building like this is I can actually take a pan of ore and drop it right here, and even if it explodes, most of it's going to wind up on the conveyor belt, and then I can just use the magnet to sort the rest of it. So coming down here, we have the 6 ram drills. Back here we have a little workshop where I do all of the smelting and weighing. We'll have a look at that later. This is what I just completed. This wasn't in the original screenshot. I decided that rather than just having a mess of pipes, I wanted to bring all of the pipes together into the building so that they were all repairable and accessible without having to jump over pipes. Back here we have our 2 pressurizers. I have experimented with running 3 and 4, and it just makes too much of a mess. Things are moving too quickly, and I wind up having to shut down the machine more often in order to repair it, and that downtime just does not outweigh the increased speed of production. We have our main water valve here. That can kill the entire machine, but I also wanted to split the machine into 2 parts. Over here, this operates the harvester and all of the conveyor belts. That way, even if I shut down the drills like you can over here, of course these are the ones that have the filters, I can shut down the drills over here and still be running the rest of the machine. And that's important because every now and then I'll wind up with an excess of dirt. Large piles, large chunks get in here, have to clean up the machine, and I don't want to be trying to clean up the machine while the drills are running, and it's just faster to shut down the drills here than it is to go individually. I also wanted to hook up the filters to the drills only because even though it means repairing the harvesters more often, it simply isn't worth it for the harvesters to shut down because a filter goes bad, which is more likely to happen, whereas I can usually stay on top of repairing the harvesters so that they don't have any downtime. But any sort of downtime in the conveyor belts or the harvesters while the drills are running just creates a mess. So part of my startup and shutdown procedure is making sure that the drills never run while the conveyor belts are off. And so, finally, maybe not finally, no, I still got some more. Down here I have the auxiliary intake. This is for, like I said, sometimes big chunks of dirt get thrown off the machine, and rather than trying to drop it into the middle of a running cycle and hoping it doesn't cause more of a mess, I can drop a chunk out here, and it's pretty finely ground up by the time it reaches the conveyor belt. And sometimes it does interact with that ram drill, but more often than not, it just kind of chips itself away, comes down here and runs through the harvester. I can stand up here. I'm just within reach of my magnet, so if anything gets gummed up, I can just use the magnet to clear it out. And then they drop down there and off to be sorted. Now, since I was talking about running at certain pressures, and I have just redone my piping system, but I only have one pressurizer out here for the sorter. I find that running it at too high of a pressure results in a higher spill rate for these, which of course kills the frame rate. Back here we have the sorters, and even though all of the mechanisms for the sorters are on the floor above, the safes down here correspond to the ore that is being used. One problem I'm running into is my rig produces more shards than I can use, even when these weigh 30, sometimes 20. Right now I'm in the middle of a cycle, though I shut down to run this. Right now in the middle of a cycle I'm at 15 weight for the shards. I usually go to about 25 or 30. And coming upstairs, this is going to be kind of my personal area. You know, save maybe some trinkets and put them up here. That's where I keep the bed, and right now that's all I have. And then up here I can kind of survey the operation, or drop down. And then I think the last thing I want to show you is, ignore all of that. That needs to go to the scrapyard, but I wanted to keep it all in one place. Down here, we have our shed. So this is where I'm going to keep all of the tool bags. You can tell I'm near the end of cycle because I'm down to my last one. The process of figuring out how to pipe all of this together, keep it in line, make sure that, you know, the mechanisms that I wanted operating together always work together, the systems that I didn't, and making it so that it all would fit inside of the building was probably one of the most fun challenges to solve about this rig. And then the one last thing that I would recommend for anyone who, like me, is playing this game, not on a high-end gaming PC, but on a laptop that sometimes struggles to operate spreadsheets, come back here. There's one final kill switch that will shut down the whole mechanism, and it's far enough away so that if things are going on inside, if the frame rate is collapsing, I can turn around with my back to the mechanism, come out here, shut down the whole machine, and then go inside and try to clean up. So here it is. Quite the operation. I'm rather proud of it. Gonna probably focus on optimizing its operations, trying to maximize its uptime. One thing I've been thinking about is using sorters to make it so that I can have one crucible being filled with gold, switch over the sorter, drop it into another crucible, so that in theory the machine would never actually have to fully shut down. But that would be a whole nother expansion and just a lot of work, which means I'm probably going to be doing it over the course of the next week. Anyways, I would love to see what kind of operations you've come up with. I'm really enjoying this game and loving seeing what the community's putting together. And I hope to see, you know, videos or screenshots of the kind of operations y'all are putting together.